Hello everyone and welcome back to the Blackfoot Book Club and another volume of my essential film reviews collection. Thanks for being there. Looks like the rot's set in. Ben Wheatley's fifth film is the third on which long-time collaborator and partner Amy Jump receives a deserved writing credit, but this time it was adapted from the original 1975 dystopian novel by JG Ballard. Having never read the book, I went into this film fresh and with only repeated viewings of the enticing trailer and having read or heard various reviews of varying quality. As a long-time fan of the films of Ben Wheatley, I wanted to love this film more than I did on my first watch, and several watches later, whilst I don't revere it alongside Kill List or Sightseers, I certainly have very little time for the sniffy and scathing reviews many professional film critics have lambasted this movie with. It's my least favourite of his 5 current film releases, but I admire the adaptation of an allegedly difficult novel, the scope of the world it portrays, and the somewhat prescient nature of the crumbling social edifice this film metaphorically and quite starkly portrays. More of which later. Set in JG Ballard's penned futuristic vision of a dystopian nightmare of society metaphorically, and in a grisly instance quite literally eating itself, we encounter Dr. Laing, Tom Hiddleston, a doctor at a School of Physiology who moves into the building of the future, a high-rise apartment block of 40 floors created and built by the self-appointed architect known as Royal, a brilliantly laconic Jeremy Irons. Other residents, and there are far too many dotted throughout the apartment block to name every character, include single mother Charlotte, Sienna Miller, heavily pregnant Helen, a brilliant Elisabeth Moss, her husband Wilder, with Luke Evans excellently living up to his name, Cosgrove, Peter, Ferdinando, and Anne, Keeley Hawes, enjoying life on the top floor of the apartment block as the wife of Royal, but more importantly, able to ride her horse amongst the splendidly apportioned roof garden. Small cameo roles are also filled by returnees from previous Ben Wheatley films in the guise of Tony Wray as the befuddled caretaker Robert, and Neil Maskell as PC White. Envisioned and created by the architect Royal, Jeremy Irons reigns supreme on the top floor of the world and the building he created. Dressed all in white, he cuts a godlike figure atop the world, and in a building where money and affluence afford you a higher standard of living in every sense, with the upper levels of the building set aside for the wealthiest of clients. With its own integral swimming pool and supermarket, the residents seemingly have no wish to venture further from their own luxurious environment, and this becomes bizarrely and starkly apparent even as the building, and their self-contained world, descends into anarchy and chaos. Tensions mount, differences begin to show, and 3 months into their vision of future living, anarchy reigns on every floor of the high-rise tower. I have questions. Are the male characters misogynistic? I think this criticism is fairly well argued, but I equally feel they are deliberately so. Very early on, the film establishes a bleak societal breakdown and impending doom throughout the vaunted futuristic nirvana that the high-rise is supposed to be. Based in the 1970s, the male characters are very much shown as men of their time, badly dressed, wide-shouldered, hunter-gatherer types, and many are unlikable due to these broad characteristics. Equally, the criticism of the female characters being just additions and throwaway creations is well founded, but I'd argue again this is deliberately and intentionally so. All characters, regardless of their gender here, are living in their nirvana, a hedonistic lifestyle to which they bought into when they took up their initial residence, and this is deliberately portrayed by Sienna Miller's character of Charlotte. But it could be argued that this is counterbalanced by the excellent performance of Elisabeth Moss as the heavily put upon but steadfast Helen. The simpler criticism to answer is why, when their dream life begins to crash in upon them in mere months, do the residents not leave and seek sanctuary elsewhere? They are indeed free to leave. There are no bars on the windows or guards on the door, so why do they not leave? Very early on in the film we see the residents leaving the high rise for their daily commute to work and the outside world, but this is very quickly and poignantly moved on from. Simply the high rises become their entire world, for good or ill, their community, their belief in the life that the future holds. And why, when chaos and degradation and infighting and hell on earth is unfolding, why would you want to leave? Set very much in the 1970s, but with JG Ballard's eyes fixed on a desperately dystopian future, Ben and Amy have created a nightmarish world within a world, and more than a nod to Stanley Kubrick and his droogs from A Clockwork Orange. And I can't think of a more apt way, as a Kubrick fanatic, to end this brief appraisal of a film I heartily recommend. And that was High Rise, directed by Ben Wheatley, and I live in peace and in solidarity. And I thank you so much for watching. Please be careful out there, everyone. Peace.